Among the biggest movers and shakers in the aviation industry have been low-cost or budget airlines. By offering lower than regular fares, by finding ways to reduce its operating costs, and usually as a result, any new route that a budget airline opens leads to new opportunities for travel and commerce between the markets the route is serving. While budget airlines have grown rapidly, there are some cases where some budget airline routes don't necessarily pan out the way that the airline intended to. Like their full-service counterparts, assessing the viability of an airline route can make the difference between success and failure for not just the route, but also the airline. As airlines look to sell the most seats and to try to fill the aircraft as much as possible, budget airlines are often under extra pressure to fill the seats as much as possible because they do not have the premium seating, or they may not offer cargo handling that their full-service counterparts often do. While there are so many variables that can affect the viability of an airline route for a budget airline, these are just some of the most common that you may see and observe in the aviation industry today. The first deals with the very principle of low-cost travel, which means that the airline will look for ways to reduce the operating costs. Like their full-service counterparts, budget airlines don't have the certain privilege of not paying certain fees, especially landing fees and also fuel costs. Any increase in fees that relate to the operation at a certain airport may impact the ability for a route operating at the airport to make as much revenue as the airline wants to. Now, most of the Asian-based low-cost airlines don't usually have a choice when it comes to the airport they serve in a city, especially there are only a select few of Asian cities that have more than one airport serving the area. The strategy of using alternate airports, usually far away, as far as 50 kilometers away from the marketed destination, is more true with the European-based carriers, the Ryanairs and the EasyJets, some of whom have great advantages of having agreements with airports that are located as close as possible to the main city areas that they want to serve, and with great bargaining power of being one of the few airlines or the only airline at the airport, they could negotiate much lower rates than usual. This has been one of the reasons why AirAsia, through its long-haul subsidiary AirAsia X, switched its Melbourne-based operations from Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport to Avalon Airport in Geelong, located around 50 kilometers away from Melbourne. Like the alternative airports that Ryanair and EasyJet uses in Europe, AirAsia has negotiated with the Avalon Airport for a 10-year agreement for the use of the airport, which we can assume would include favorable fees for the use of the airport. Another contributing factor to the potential success of a low-cost airline route is the ease of access between the origin and destination. This is especially true in domestic markets, especially within countries like Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia, where low-cost airlines have become some of the most dominant airlines in the market. And often, it is the domestic routes that are the launching pad for success for these airlines. For international routes, the ease of visa restrictions and entry requirements are major contributing factors for a potential route to be a success. And we can see this with the network of routes of Ryanair and EasyJet throughout the European Union. In Asia, the ASEAN region, though operated as independent states, there isn't many visa restrictions, which opens access to different countries, so you'll see very prosperous routes such as the Singapore to Kuala Lumpur route, or flights to Manila to Hong Kong. And this has been one of the contributing factors to the success of the Malaysian-based super brand AirAsia. For destinations that do require the application of a visa, it isn't as time-consuming and costly, which was a contributing factor to why Philippine-based low-cost carrier Cebu Pacific made the decision to end its Manila-Guam flights, the only U.S. destination in its network, starting this December. Another contributing factor is the level of competition that a low-cost airline would have on a particular route. And with lower fares, less competition is much better and favorable for the airline. This is another contributing factor to why low-cost airlines do really well in domestic markets, and not so for international long-haul routes. As mentioned in a previous video regarding long-haul budget travel, on longer travel routes, Budget airlines are often at a disadvantage because they don't offer the connecting and the in-flight amenities that full-service carriers often do, including baggage allowance and in-flight entertainment. For airlines in the budget airline business model, it's often the flights of less than 4 to 5 hours where they usually thrive in, and the fares can usually be substantially lower when compared to full-service carriers on the same route. Now, at the end of the day, the people who are buying the airline tickets are often looking to do certain things such as visit friends and family or to do business, and this brings up the final point where it's likely that the origin and destination are built on very strong middle-class economies. And this is especially true in Asia, where many of the thriving budget carriers also are backed up by economies with a strong enough middle class. Budget airlines in Asia have successfully targeted the millennial population as well as families who can make multiple trips per year. This segment of the population could probably afford a trip on a full-service carrier, though it may be common for a businessman or woman to fly regular full-service carriers such as Singapore Airlines for a business trip to say to Tokyo, while at the same time planning a family vacation but using the Singapore Airlines subsidiary Scoot. This could be an argument for why full-service carriers may not fully go away in any time soon, as some, especially in Asia, have invested into making their own low-cost brands to cater to the economies, especially where travelers could choose between budget airlines for certain situations while using full service for others. Examples of these airlines with budget subsidiaries include Singapore with Scoot and Korean Air with Jin Air. This is also a contributing reason why Cathay Pacific made the purchase for the ailing HK Express, and Japan Airlines is looking to start its own budget carrier, Zip Air Tokyo. For this video, I do mention a lot of references from Asian-based carriers, and this is from an Asia-based perspective, of the contributing factors to the success of budget carriers in the region and the viability of such routes that they operate. I don't necessarily look at these points as rules, but I've developed this as a way to determine if a budget airline route would be successful or not. Though at the end of the day, there are many variables that we necessarily won't see in the public eye that would contribute to the success or failure for an airline in a particular route, including the budget carriers. Is there anything that you agree or disagree with as to what are major factors as to the success of a budget airline and a route it operates? This has been another edition of Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the Asia Pacific region. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching and have a great day.